So Ebenezer, let's just warm up the social media, and can I just check how is the weather with you today? Let's do the good old standard British question. How's the weather?
Well, it's the opposite of what you can see in my background photo. So it's it's quite cloudy, misty where I am today. So yeah.
Excellent. So we're just everyone. We're just waiting for all the social media to kick in, and for everyone on Zoom to come on in as you are doing. The backdrop that Ebenezer's running today is in Ghana, in this of a pineapple plantation, West Africa, Ghana. What's that, Ebenezer? 8 hours, 9 hours on a plane from Heathrow. I wonder what the temperature today in Ghana is compared to the Highlands. Did you see in the Highlands that was nearly 19 degrees on Sunday? I
Yeah,
wonder.
that was a shocker.
I wonder if
That
Ghana's
was
hotter or colder.
well, definitely hotter. But I mean, getting 19 degrees at this time of year in the Highlands, yeah, I think if that doesn't explain where we are in terms of the climate emergency, I don't know what does.
Excellent.
So yeah.
What a great segue. Hello, everyone. We are going to start this broadcast professionally now. My name is Max MacGillivray from Beanstalk Global. We have Ebenezer from the University of Northampton. Ebenezer, I did have my notes all printed out, but I think it's actually going to come across better from yourself. Can you explain the purpose of this broadcast and what we're looking to achieve from it today? Ebenezer, over to you, please.
Yes, thanks, Max. And hello, everyone. Welcome to this broadcast. My name is Dr. Beanstalk. I'm an associate professor for sustainable development law at the University of Northampton, and also I'm the lead for the TANZ project. So the purpose of this webinar is to create a platform for the sharing of best practices and to facilitate peer-to-peer learning amongst businesses, particularly in relation to best practices when it comes to net zero. Of course, net zero is it's a complex journey. It's of course very and highly extremely rewarding for a business to be on that journey. It says a lot about how serious that business takes its long-term sustainability, not just of its operations, but also how much that business values and is concerned about its impact on the environment, both ecologically and socially. So that makes it a very complex journey, and it's full of issues and challenges, et cetera, et cetera. So we wanted to just create this platform where businesses can come together and share best practices and to learn really from each other. And I'm glad to see that we've got fantastic set of panelists this afternoon who will be sharing their experience and taking questions and providing insights, etc.
And Ebenezer, the last broadcast that we did, it got some. I have to check, but it got somewhere in the region of 6,500 dedicated views. So there's obviously attraction. People want to learn about this. But let me just be challenging to you. What's the point? If the whole of the UK was eradicated, got taken away by aliens, that only equates to 5% of the CO2 production in the UK. And if we hone in on the Northampton area, what difference is it going to make us trying to make a positive change in this area? What's the point?
Yeah, I think the point is that we are, well, a number of things. Number one, we're able to show, as a local area, as a county within West Northants, that we are serious about addressing climate change, and that we're serious about ensuring the long-term sustainability of our operations. I think for businesses, it's crucial because the fact of the matter is that if we do not take these steps that we're taking and doing the things that we're doing on the TANZ project to support businesses to reduce their carbon emissions and make the journey towards attaining net zero, there will be some businesses that come 30, 40, 50 years down the line will no longer be operational because their business models will be unsustainable. So I think it's really a question of, do we want to continue to do tomorrow the things that we do today? And I think the answer to that is yes. And if the answer is yes, then we've got to be intentional. And I think the final thing I'll mention, Max, before I pass on to you is, that I think, for me personally, for us in this area of West Northants and in Northants generally, I think we've got to have the ambition to become the most sustainable county, the most sustainable area in the UK. And I think that is important because it will drive others to follow our lead to ensure a more sustainable future, not just for our businesses, but also for ourselves and our children and grandchildren for years to come.
Ebenezer, well done. I completely concur. And we're already seeing in other sectors that we work in, the likes of retailers, when they're asking companies to tender, they're asking for documentation, they're asking for proof of the sustainability journey, the net zero journey that those companies are going on. So I'd even be a bit more aggressive than yourself, that if companies aren't looking to adopt these changes in the Northampton area, they're going to have a problem. So start the journey now. And that's why I'm guessing a lot of you are dialed in today, to hear from Ebenezer and also a number of experts that we've got in, so that we can all learn. So Ebenezer, on that basis, should we bring in our experts and find out about them, their businesses, their organizations that they're affiliated to, so we can learn from them? Ebenezer, shall we bring them in?
Yes, of course. Let's do that, Max.
Everyone, could you turn your videos on, please? And I think what we'll do, Sean, we had a great catch up in the green room before we went live. Could you just explain who you are and your business, please? Sean, over to you.
Sure. Yes, sure. So I'm Sean Warren. I'm head of sustainability projects at Graph UK in Banbury. So our business really has three major priorities. So firstly, preventing flooding in an increasingly extreme weather conditions through stormwater management. Our second priority is preventing sewage being discharged into watercourses. And then our third major objective is that we're looking to put precious resources of rainwater to good use through rainwater harvesting, and we're looking to do that with increasingly using targeting our 100% recycled materials in the process.
Excellent. Sure, I'm just smiling because I can think of so many businesses that will be or should be and need to have a conversation with yourself. And if it's okay to mention, we were talking about it in the green room. There was the brilliant summit that Ebenezer and his colleagues organised at the University of Northampton last year. Could you declare, Sean, who the headline sponsor is for the summit this year, please?
Yes, so Graph UK has committed to being the headline sponsor for the summit in 2024. We're very pleased to be part of that process, and we're looking forward to it. And as you say, I mean, we think that we're in a position where we can help other companies and other organizations on their journey towards net zero, and that's one of the reasons why we think it's important for us to be part of this summit.
Excellent. Sean, thank you. Ebenezer, that's what I so much enjoy about these type of broadcasts, because we can have this collaboration that we didn't know that actually if we lean on the likes of Sean, he might have a solution for our business in the respect of, Sean, let's just call it wastewater management per se. Guy, over to you. Who are you and who are you representing from your tidy desk, please?
Hi, yeah, I'm Guy Schoenchief. I'm founder of Bambino Mio. We're based in Brixworth, Northamptonshire, and we're the market leader for reusable nappies, washable nappies. Founded the company sort of over 25 years ago when certainly reusable nappies weren't really on the agenda for people. It was all about disposables. But the consumer demand has gone up massively for reusable products. In our area, we're working to help reduce the 90 billion disposable nappies that are thrown away every year in the world, and that's 3.6 billion in the in the UK. And I think just specifically on the net zero point, because obviously we're about waste, but I think resource use in general is a figure that I often quote is responsible for 50% of carbon emissions. So the reuse sector is a really interesting angle on this.
Yeah, well done, and you're an excellent speaker at the summit last year. I think it awoke so many people to the fact that there are so many common items that they need a guide, they need a solution for. I'm being stalked on Facebook at the moment by a company that is looking to create a solution to electric toothbrushes. Electric toothbrushes never die. and the landfills are just full of them. So there's so many examples that it might be a business opportunity for the business area that you're in, that you can create a solution like Guy has done. So I would encourage you to look at Guy's business to see what he and his colleagues are achieving. And Guy, if it's okay, to learn from you and your journey, because there's commercial opportunities. Everybody, that's one thing we didn't talk about, how there's the potential to create a very good business from this perhaps alarming situation to the benefit of all. Nicola, over to you, please.
Yeah, good afternoon. I'm Nicola. I work at Sartre over in Kettering. So we are a testing research consultancy organization, one of the research associations that was founded a number of years ago. We support the footwear, PPE, furniture and flooring industries with testing, research, etc. So my role is sustainability manager. So sort of two aspects of that. One is measuring and working to reduce and understand our own emissions, but also working with all of our members and customers to try and help them sort of work their way through understanding where they can reduce their impacts, trying to keep up to date with the constantly changing legislative landscape, particularly regarding consumer goods. And we're also looking at things like compostability testing, compostability certification. So it's sort of becoming fairly commonplace now for sort of people to try and have like compostable coffee cups, etc. But there are actually companies out there developing compostable leathers and compostable shoes. So that's also an area that we're working in. Nicola, we all need a Nicola in our life, I think, in the respect of you're such an expert that none of us have all the answers. It'd be great if there was, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to commoditize you on this, but if there were duplications of you in other sectors, and I guess there are, but for the sectors that you represent, that must be so beneficial to them to be able to come to you and your organization to lean on you to get the answers, to give them that steer. Would you agree? Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's obviously like, your big companies out there, the Nikes of this world have got research departments that are, way bigger than anything that we could ever dream of, and are looking at all sorts of things. But there's a lot of smaller companies, medium companies who don't have that resource. So they come to us for expertise. We don't have all of that expertise ourselves. So we try and sort of, again, as Ebenezer's doing, we try to bring people together to share that knowledge. So we also run sort of sustainability themed webinars, most of them footwear specific. So we had one recently on footwear recycling. So I don't know if there is anyone from the local area on here, sort of from the footwear background. So that's worth checking out as well. So footwear is typically difficult to recycle. It's very difficult to disassemble, lots of different materials and components. But there is a company in the Netherlands now that are actually really far advanced on that. It's very exciting. It's not perfect, but it's a million times better than anything that we've had before. So that's a very exciting development for the footwear industry. And just on that side, within your sectors, one of the biggest, fastest growing new jobs in all sectors is sustainability managers. But as you mentioned, smaller companies might be afraid of employing such an individual. So they can lean on yourself and your organization and your colleagues to sort of fill that gap, to get the steer, to attend the webinars, to get that advice as to where they should be going, where they should be directed. Would that be correct? Yeah, so we put out regular publications, articles, webinars, and yeah, for our members, we're here sort of to provide advice and sort of get them on the right journey. Excellent. Well done. Thank you, Nicola. So we've gone from waste management to specific assistance on for the likes of the footwear industry. Let's go to fresh produce. Simon, who are you? Who are you representing, please?
Hi there, Max. Yeah, I'm Simon Derrick. I'm head of sustainability at a company called Blue Skies, based in Northamptonshire. And we make prepared fruit, so ready to eat, fresh cut fruits, pineapple, mango, pomegranate, passion fruit, coconut. Did I mention coconut? Melon, all different kinds of fruits, which we make at source. So we are headquartered in Northamptonshire, but we've got facilities in Ghana, Egypt, South Africa, Brazil, Benin, Senegal, and Ivory Coast. And the philosophy is to make the finished product in the countries where the fruit grows, providing opportunities for employment, technology transfer, skills development. And we supply retailers all over Europe. In the UK, we supply the likes of Waitrose, Sainsbury's and Aldi, for instance. And in mainland Europe, we supply Albert Heijn, and Carrefour in France. So yeah, that's the business. We've been 25 years young. Celebrated our anniversary very recently, yeah, obviously sort of keen to progress our journey towards net zero.
Well done. And if you've heard me talk about Blue Skies before, I'm completely biased towards them because of my 20-odd year history with them. Anthony Pyle, the founder of, as he stated to me once, they sort of set up Blue Skies as a social enterprise before social enterprises were a thing. And the main business in Accra in Ghana in West Africa, help me Simon, you probably said, employs 4,500 people, but there's an amazing ecosystem of about, we reckon about 30,000 people that are associated, that benefit from that factory. And when you, if you've got the pleasure, as I've done a couple of times, to go and visit that facility in Ghana, you've never seen such a clean, tidy business, and they live this mantra about sustainability. So again, on this call today, if you dive around on the websites, don't be sorry, it's not meant to be aggressive. Don't be parochial, just looking at your local area. Look globally at the likes of Blue Skies, because they've also got the answer as well. Martin, over to you, please. Who are you representing?
Yeah, hi, I'm Martin Wilson. I represent West Northamptonshire Council. I'm the sustainability manager there, and as part of my job is to spread the message of net zero across West Northamptonshire.
And Martin, when did you start your journey on sustainability, and especially within West Northamptonshire Council? When was that awakening? When was that awakening moment for yourself and your colleagues, and for you to impart to everyone within your catchment area, please? Just over
2 years ago is when the council decided to change from a purely sort of climate change focus to sustainability, and that's when we formed the team. We have a small team, a team of 4, and we work within the council to encourage sustainable practice in the council and across West Northamptonshire. Excellent. And I'm guessing that when you started on day one, the phone and the emails might have been a bit quiet. What's it like today within your department? Not enough time to do all the things that we would like to do, and not enough time to do all the things we've been asked to do, to be honest. So yeah, it's just grown and grown since we started. Okay, but that's great that people within your catchment area, that's the right phrase, can lean on you for this advice. Jolie, let's bring you in. How does it work with yourself? Because you're obviously employed within West Northamptonshire Council as well. Tell us what you do within the sustainability team, please.
Hello, yeah, I'm Jolie. I'm the Sustainability Officer working within Martin's team. So specifically for this project, I'm managing the project from our side. So we got the funding from Shared Prosperity Fund and obviously appointed the University of Northampton to deliver the TANZ project. So working closely with Ebenezer and Martin to manage that project.
Excellent, well done. And Jolie, there's in another sector I work in, being horticulture, we always look at Holland, because Holland have this, they call it the Dutch diamond, and some people will be so bored of me here talking about this, that they've got this virtual circle between government, industry and education. And in effect, Jolie, that's what you've created. You've got yourself, government, you've got education with the likes of Ebenezer and his colleagues, and then you've got all the businesses that you're working with. So have you created that diamond for West Northamptonshire?
Oh, I don't think personally, but yeah, yes, that's what we're hoping to achieve through the TANZ project. So building on the work that Ebenezer and the team did with the summit last year, and looking to bring together those key industry sectors. Yeah.
Okay, and just give us a steer. What sort of businesses would you like to attract to come to you looking for advice? Because in the past, when I've approached the likes of the DTI, Department of Trade and Industry, I've always been deemed too small as a business, that you need to be £2 million turnover, and it's also got that frustration. So I presume that you will look at smaller businesses, like everyone from a plumber all the way to very large business, say the likes of Sean. Jolie, would you look at all business sizes to assist?
Yeah, definitely. So the TANZ project is aimed at SMEs, but that can be from a couple of people to a larger size SME. With the main point being that if you are under-resourced and net zero is falling to just sort of one person, that you can get the support that you need through this TANZ project to help you on that journey.
Excellent. And just on specifics, is there a particular website that we should be looking out for, or if we just dial up Sustainability Assistance West Northamptonshire Council, will it take us direct to a link on Google?
Yes, yeah, we do have a Sustainable West Northants page on the council website.
Excellent. Can I ask a big favour? If you could stick it in the Q&A, that would be brilliant. And everyone dialed in, whether they dialed in on Zoom or any of the social media platforms, please don't be afraid to ask a question. We've got all of these fantastic experts here in different walks of life. So please feel free to ask any questions so that we can get an understanding from them. So let's start this ball rolling. Team, what do you think are the most common misconceptions businesses have about transitioning to net zero? And how can they be addressed? Let's ask a man in the trenches. Guy, get off your phone. Listen. Well, you've been through this scenario. So just give us a steer. What were the mistakes? What were the misconceptions that you created about transitioning, creating this journey from where you were to net zero, and how did you address them? Give us your musings, please.
I mean, I think I mean, we're slightly different in our business in that it's our product that is sort of contributing to net zero. Reusables are better from a carbon point of view than disposables, even when you're looking at washing and drying. But I think we certainly wanted to look at all areas of the business. I think it's such a huge subject, and it can be overwhelming when you first look at it. I think it's about looking at where you can have biggest impact and accepting that you're not immediately going to be, you can't try and be perfect in everything. So what changes can you make that make the biggest impact? I think that's one of the things. And I said,
well done.
The second thing is having a starting point, understanding the basics in terms of where you are having that impact, and so you have something to work from. And I suppose the third thing is making sure that that you're bringing everybody along with you within the organization and all your stakeholders. We're lucky in that, I mean, we were a purpose-driven business before that became a buzzword when we set up 25 years ago to get more parents to use reusable nappies. And so it's always been the culture of the business, but actually making sure that you've got everybody on that journey, I think is probably a third area that needs to be addressed from the outset. Because if you haven't got everybody working together on it, it's not going to work.
Well done. Simon, 25 years young, your business. Did you set off on a sustainability basis, a net zero basis from the get-go, or is this something that you all had awakening about a few years back? How does it work within Blue Skies, please?
Well, I mean, when Anthony set up the business 25 years ago, we were talking about doing things, in the right way, in taking responsibility effectively. So a lot of the sort of principles that we might talk about in terms of sustainability now, we didn't then, but we just recognized that looking after people, ensuring that we are responsible farmers, that we look after the environment in the way that we grow our fruit was the right thing to do. So it's embedded within the ethos of the business. We call it the joint effort enterprise.
Lovely.
It's part of our culture, if you like, kind of what we call it, sort of the effort, how we enable people to reach their potential and how we ultimately deliver the best quality product. So it really is something which we try to embed within the foundations of the business. But fast forward to where we are now, and of course a lot of people are talking about some of these principles, well, a lot of these principles in terms of sustainability or ESG or corporate social responsibility or one of the other acronyms that are out there. But of course for us, and I think this should be for everyone, it's about doing the right thing. It's about first and foremost taking responsibility, and I think that will help ensure that we can navigate the journey towards net zero better. Because if it's just because you're required to do it, whether it be legal requirements or your customers are suddenly asking you to do it, then it's not going to work as effectively as if it's actually at the heart of your business. It's within your DNA, like Bambino Mio, where it's part of your purpose. It ensures that you're actually doing it for the right reasons.
Yeah, well, Well done. And just a segue question. Catherine, thank you. Catherine just put in the Q&A. The micro solutions could be much easier to implement, but when it comes to larger transitions like conversion of HGV fleets to electric or hydrogen, does the panel know of any initiative funding available for businesses? Martin, Jolie, help us with that one, because there's a very similar question, Martin. If you remember the last broadcast that we did, funding, is the funding available? Martin?
I'm not aware of any funding specific to HGVs to transition to cleaner fuel, unfortunately.
No, but okay, but on the funding side, what funding, Lena and you, Martin, as our resident expert, and Jolie, is there funding for smaller things? Obviously, not expecting for £250,000 worth of lorry to be funded. That's just nonsensical. But is there funding out there for smaller businesses to assist them, Martin?
Yeah, the potentially is that the council's just going through a procurement exercise for a larger pot of money through the UK Shares Prosperity Fund, and part of that will be used for match-funded grants. So they expect to use up to 300k to provide match-funded grants to local businesses to implement sustainable measures within their business to reduce energy consumption, whatever they come forward with a good idea. Okay,
and Jolie, do you? Is this something that businesses should be looking to do, is to approach the likes of yourself to see if there is funding, and should they be looking to create the solutions themselves internally by learning from broadcast today? Jolie, what do you think?
Yeah, no, funding is always sort of a key barrier, isn't it, for any of these innovative solutions, really. So yeah, we're happy to kind of try and support and look for sources of funding, which we have to do a lot ourselves anyway within our team. And then just leaning on peers really, and looking what's out there within their sector.
Yeah, Jolie, because it's also a difficult one, isn't it? That I've always been taught in business that if you're going to make an investment in something, whether it be a piece of kit or marketing, you want to see a ×3 or ×4 reward on it. And I suppose it's say you're putting solar panels up on your roof, you might be able to equate that. But a lot of this, Jolie, what do you think is quite not non-tangible? You're taking a bit of a punt, and also the science and the evolution of this all is so rapidly changing. Jolie, would you agree?
Yeah, I think as well, it's about the sort of invest to save, isn't it? You know, if you're investing up front on technology that's going to reduce your consumption of your say your gas or your electricity longer term, then you're going to reap those benefits further down the line.
Excellent. And a very I was going to say old Paul, a very lovely and long-standing contact of mine. Oh, Jolie, I'm just going to I'm getting confused with my own Zoom boxes here. I do apologise. Paul Fieldhouse, good to hear sustainability, waste and recycling examples. What are the panel organisations actively doing to reuse as part of the net zero plans? I'm a huge listener of Times Radio, and over the weekend they had a chap from London who's set up the first non-waste restaurant, so they don't waste any food whatsoever. And he gave some horrific examples, especially about high-end restaurants, where upwards of 70% of the fresh food that they buy in is wasted. And he gave examples of a carrot, just a square of a carrot being used for a fancy, very expensive meal, and the rest being dumped. And it's obviously something that we've got to look to change. But has there any of the panel got any examples of how they are looking to reuse as part of the net zero plans? Sean, you must be seeing this, surely. Over to you, Sean.
Yeah. So can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can. Far away, sir.
Great. Okay. Yeah. I mean, as I mentioned, sort of in the introduction to the company, I mean, I think one of the focuses here at Graph is a lot of our products rely on plastic storage tanks, and what we're looking to do is make sure that we reuse or all of our plastics are recycled, so come from a recycled source. So we're taking essentially old plastic bottles and old plastic packaging, and then turning that into storage tanks for wastewater, rainwater, and stormwater. So that's kind of a big part of that. I mean, if I can touch on some of the other things that have come back up in this conversation. I mean, there was a conversation around funding. You know, we're in our journey. You know, similar to Guy, I mean, our products could be used by other companies as part of their net zero journey, but as an organisation, so we've always had a focus on sustainability, but we formalised that in the last couple of years, where we've actually started to measure our own carbon footprint, and we did that for the first time in 2022. And then we're obviously looking to continue that on a yearly basis, where we will measure our carbon footprint. But you know, the big question that has come out of that is, now that we know where our major contributions for carbon emissions are coming from, it's well, where do we now invest in terms of having maximum impact in terms of our return on investment, not just from an economic perspective, but from a carbon perspective. And we're currently working with the university. We've got a couple of projects kicking off, hopefully within the next sort of month or so, where we're looking at doing a lot of that research into looking at, well, do we put solar panels out? Do we start buying electric vehicles? You know, looking at different schemes within that project. One of the things that we will be looking for are there pools of funding out there that we can apply for that will help us on that journey. So I guess that's kind of the sort of things that we've started doing at this point.
Excellent. Thank you, because I've learned a lot from that, just from you presenting that. And Paul Fieldhouse, thank you very much. It's and I hope it's okay to do so. Paul represents a great business called Ramco UK, who are very active in this whole area of reusing. Everyone, we got a question, and this is a contact of mine from Dumfries called Henry, who's dialed in, and we talked about this the last time we had this broadcast. Measurement. How do we measure this, Nicola? How do we measure this to make sure that we're making a difference, a sustainable and a significant difference, especially if we're being asked to tender, as I gave examples of the likes of retailers? Nicola, how do we measure this, please?
Yeah, and I think in terms of Sartre, I mean, we're quite new to this journey as well. And I think why a lot of people don't start is it seems really scary. You start talking to consultants, they start talking about scary numbers to help you to calculate those numbers. And actually, I think if you know, for an organization just starting off on this, it's actually relatively straightforward to calculate Scope 1 and Scope 2 emissions. You don't really need consultants to help you do that. You can do it with data that's available from DEFRA, and things like energy bills and things like that you've already got. What got us started was this is before TANZ, before SLIPAH, because I know Ebenezer is working on developing something. We found an online carbon calculator. I mean, again, have a look around, because some of them are ridiculously expensive, but we found one that was a much lower cost. And that kind of gets you on that journey, because it kind of tells you what to do. Okay, how much energy did you use? How much gas did you use? What was your water consumption? How much of each type of waste, etc. So that can really get you going to start understanding that. And also, for anyone who's on the call, sort of not aware, once you get into Scope 3, which is what's the emissions of kind of everything else, basically all of the things that you purchase, all of the goods and the services. I mean, that's when it starts to get a lot more complicated. But certainly, you know, we'd say to any organization, there's no reason why you can't start to measure your own Scope 1 and Scope 2, which is the emissions associated with the energy that you purchase, emissions of your company vehicles, etc., and start to understand what their impact is. What's helped us in Normalcy as well, and again, look around, because you'll get wildly varying quotes for this. We've got a big site, we've got lots of different testing laboratories. All we got at the end of every month was a bill telling us how much energy we'd used, and we were using something like 1.7 million kilowatt hours of electricity a month, and we had no idea where it was going. We've put in an energy monitoring system that looks at the first layer of energy consumption, and that's been really valuable, that if we try and do something different, we can see instantly, okay, that's had an impact or that hasn't had an impact. So without spending any money on solar panels or doing anything fancy at all, we've taken our energy consumption down the first year by 4% and last year by 10%. So 2022 to 2023, we reduced our electricity consumption and saved about 33 tons of carbon in the process. And that's just by doing all of the obvious stuff that everyone keeps talking about. like, looking at how long's the heating on for, how long's the cooling on for, really drawing into people to switch things off, and doing that took 10% off our carbon, and also obviously at the moment 10% off our energy bill, when energy is not the cheapest thing in the world.
Nicola, well done. I always think of a classic example. This is going back some years, but this will resonate with everyone with what Nicola has just said, that there was a particular stadium, and I won't mention them, in the Eastern Counties. And who remembers ISDN before we had fast broadband? And this particular stadium had to have multiple ISDN lines to get the streaming of the particular sport out. What they didn't know was that they had overcapacity of the ISDN lines by 4 times, and they were spending the thick end of £250,000 that they didn't need to on these ISDN lines because no one could trace them. And they actually had someone who came in on a part-time basis who physically counted the wires in the box and realized there was a problem, and they terminated it and made a £250,000 saving. So Nicola, as you say, go around, look at everything, and find out what. So Nicola, I'm quite excited by this. That actually, rather than looking at solar panels and electric cars, the answer to get some really quick wins is going to be internally, isn't it? That we've all got complex business physically. Have a good look round to see what you've got in, what's coming in, and that information. Try and scrutinise it further to get a better understanding. Jolie, is this something that you find a lot of companies do with you? They just come to you thinking there's going to be a quick fit solution like solar panels, electric cars, other things are available, and actually should we be looking in our businesses to see what fixes that we can make? What do you think, please?
Yeah, I agree with Nicola. It's definitely about understanding your energy demand in the first place, and looking at where you can make those initial reductions without really kind of having to do all that much. Yeah.
Boom. Guy, come on, you must have found data. How have you always looked to track your data within your business, please?
We do an impact report, and one thing that we've done that we started on the journey of probably about 3 years ago is B Corp.
Well done.
Don't know about B Corp. It's an internationally recognised mark. It doesn't just cover sustainability; it covers governance, it covers people, and it's generally good practice. And one thing that did it for us was create a framework that we could judge ourselves against. We knew we were quite good on sustainability, but actually, rather than sort of reinvent the wheel, it was a framework that we could judge ourselves against. One part of B Corp is an impact report within the sustainability. So that sort of meant that we had to do it. As I say, we embarked on B Corp because we wanted a framework to judge ourselves against, not necessarily going for the accreditation, but we ended up going for the accreditation and getting it about 12 months ago, because it sort of forced us to get things done and look at everything. And again, it's back to the point I made earlier. We're not perfect on everything. The great thing about B Corp is you have to get to a certain standard, and then it's all about constant improvement. So it gives you a starting point. It means you measure yourself against that framework, but then you can continually improve.
Yeah, well done. Measure yourself against that framework. But would you say that B Corp is a must for all businesses, or is it only specific businesses that it could be beneficial to, like your business model? It attracts the B Corp mantra and community because of all the good work that you do. So perhaps B Corp is suitable for all businesses or not? What do you think?
I don't think there's any reason why. I mean, if businesses aspire to be good businesses, I think B Corp provides you that opportunity to do it. I think if you're not bought into it, if you really haven't got that idea, if it's just about bottom line for you and nothing else, one of the first things you do with B Corp is actually build into your articles the fact that all decisions are made for stakeholders where you look at purpose before profit and the impact that you're having on the environment. And that's a really important part. And actually, if you don't care about that, then it's never going to be appropriate. But what you're finding is more and more businesses, whether it be companies like ours, you'd think, probably B Corp is made for people like us. But actually, there's banks, there's consultancies, and consumers and people who work with businesses, whether it's B2B or B2C, are demanding it more and more because it's an independent standard.
Yeah. Okay. And a question in from you, Guy. What sustainability practices have you found to be most effective in accelerating your journey towards net zero?
I mean, is it me?
Yep.
Did you ask me? I mean, I think our journey for net zero, as I say, it goes back to the point I made at the beginning, that actually it's looking about where you have greatest impact, and for us, it's our product that having greatest impact. So actually, we know that every new parent that we convert to reusable nappies, you're reducing their impact of the nappies on carbon output. And actually, that is not just the product itself, but it's educating the customers about making sure that they're doing that in the most energy efficient way. Clearly, if somebody's using renewable energy, that is the biggest impact for our product. So actually, if you've got customers on renewable energy, it's about 90% better from a carbon point of view. So that's where we have biggest impact. It doesn't mean that we don't have, and we have solar panels on the buildings. We do electric charging. We don't do air shipping of our product. It's shipped by sea. So we are doing other things, and I think the other impact that we have, being a manufacturer with third-party manufacturers around the world, is working with those manufacturers to make sure their practices are improving as well. And it's not just about what we do here, because the impact that we have in our offices in Brixworth is minimal compared to what we can do with the supply chain.
Yep, Guy, that's a really important point that you make. Driving societal change. Are you finding that your suppliers are happy to go on this journey as you are, or are you finding resistance and actually having to lose some suppliers because they are not following your views, perhaps your mantra?
It may be that we selected that because of the way that we've selected suppliers and worked with them over the years, but no, we're not getting resistance to it, and we work with them to ensure that is improving all the time. So the suppliers we work with tend to be tied up with that and tend to be along the journey with us, but that may be partly because of the way that we've selected them in the first place.
Yeah, understood. Sean, what about yourself? With you going through this net zero sustainability journey, are you finding that the people that you're associated with, your suppliers, your customers, are they looking to adopt your mantra, or are you finding resistance?
We're a little bit different in some respects from a supplier perspective, in that 90%, 95% of our product actually comes from our head office in Germany, you know, that's obviously where the recycling of the plastic. We've got our own factory there which takes in used plastics and converts them into product, and we just bring it in from Germany. You know, yes, in terms of our customer base, we are finding increasingly that our customers are asking us about what our strategy is in terms of moving towards a more sustainable future. And indeed, you know, one of the reasons why we wanted to formalize our journey was to obviously be compliant with the requests that were coming from customers. So although we'd actually been doing this for some time, it was requests from customers that were actually meant that we actually began to formalize the process. And so, as I say, 2 years ago, we made a commitment to measure our carbon footprint. We went out and got third-party certification. We didn't go down the B Corp route at this stage. We went to a company called Planet Mark, and we got the Planet Mark certification. And that primarily was to make sure that all of our internal processes for measuring our carbon footprint were sound. So, you know, we didn't want to be in a situation where we were kind of marking our own homework and saying, well, yes, okay, we've reduced our carbon footprint by X% or whatever it happens to be. At least we've now got a third party who kind of take all of our data, help us with the calculation of our carbon footprint, and then as we move forward, you know, we've got that check there from that third party to say, yes, we're heading in the right direction. I guess is kind of where we're going.
And Sean, a bit of a voyeuristic question here from an anonymous person. Could Sean give an understanding as to whether he thinks Germany is advanced of us in respect of net zero transition and their sustainability, or are we advancing them? So what's your thought? It must be fascinating with the German headquarters. Tell us.
Yeah, well, I mean, certainly, I think, you know, in my experiences, I mean, I know that Germany many years ago, I mean, 20, 30 years ago, started bringing in legislation around the use of recycled packaging and all of these sort of things. So I think it was back in the early noughties, I think, where you know, if you were buying a washing machine from a German manufacturer in Germany, the manufacturer had to come and collect the packaging for it, and were responsible for disposal. So I think in some respects, yes, but I think in other respects, you know, I think that with the recent focuses, you know, more and more on net zero, and you know, I mean, obviously you know, the evidence that we're seeing you know, for climate change and all of these sort of things, I think there's a lot more focus now here in the UK.
Sean, thank you. In October, I covered a conference in America, in California, and one of the interviews I did was with a major greenhouse grower out there. And off camera, he said, "Max, we're so far behind yourself and Western Europe in respect to sustainability. We need to learn so much from yourself." Martin, what do you think? Do you think that we are in advance? We've still got a long way to go, but we should be quite proud of how far we've got. But we've just got to keep going, Martin.
In terms of West Northampton or the UK or both?
Both. Yeah, I'd be fascinated because I don't know many. I don't know many Martins and Jolies within the council structure. I'm sure they are, but you guys have been so proactive in what you're doing. So are we in advance? Are you? And this is not the time to be modest. Are you in advance in the rest of the UK? Do we need to lean on you more because you are experts?
Well, the council's making progress, but I wouldn't say we're more advanced. So I think in some respects we're trying to catch up with other councils who've been doing this for longer. But I think in general the UK is setting a good example for the rest of Europe and the rest of the world. Okay,
Jolie, your views?
Yeah, I concur really. Yeah, I think that there are equivalents of us in lots of other councils. Some have bigger teams, some have just one person. So we are fortunate in that sense that we've got a bit of resource. But yeah, I think yeah, we're doing our best. But yeah, there's more we can be doing, definitely.
Jolie, thank you. And everyone, we're coming up to the witchy now. So if you've got any questions for our panel, now's the time to put them in as we come to the end of the broadcast. It'd be really interesting to hear from everyone as to what advice would you give to businesses that are just beginning their journey towards net zero, especially in terms of setting realistic goals and timelines. We've sort of covered this, but it'd be really good to get from a sort of a concise answer from all of the panel. So just to reiterate, what advice can we give to businesses that are just beginning this journey towards net zero, especially in terms of setting realistic goals and timelines? Simon, let's start with you, because you're, although you're Northamptonshire based, you've got this eclectic mix of businesses globally, and I suppose it's not dissimilar to there'll be businesses in your local area that are quite fragmented, and so you go through this learning, Simon, of different businesses, different cultures, different countries. How have you assimilated all of this within Blue Skies to try and keep on track, to try and create success, please?
Yeah, thanks, Max. I think the first step for us was understanding what our baseline was. So actually measuring our carbon emissions. So we developed a calculator a few years ago to be able to measure it across our whole supply chain. So in all of our factories, on all of our different operations. So to try and as I said, to understand against all of the different scopes, particularly looking at sort of scope 1 and 2, our energy and refrigeration and fuels that we consume, but also looking at our scope 3, our indirect emissions as well. There's a lot of work to do that. So as we've sort of just talked about on the call, I mean, I think starting with scope 1 and 2 is the obvious place to start here, and maybe just looking at those scope 3 emissions where you have the most influence over. So for us, it's things like waste, It's things like the materials that we're using, so packaging materials and the raw materials that go into our final products, the water that we're consuming, and any third-party transport, plus business travel as well. We could, and we did actually go further than that, looking more downstream emissions in terms of distribution to the final consumer. But I wouldn't recommend going to that extent as a first step. In terms of setting targets, what we found very useful was using the Science-Based Targets Initiative target setting tool. So you can basically just put in your base, what you calculate to be your baseline for scope 1 and 2, plus your scope 3 if you've got that as well. And it'll tell you where you need to get to in order to be in line with the various sort of trajectories that we're told we need to work towards in order to limit warming to that 1.5 degree limit. And you can look at various different scenarios to see how you can get there. So we found that very useful, because it meant we weren't setting arbitrary targets. We weren't sort of saying, plucking a figure out of thin air in terms of what we would like to get to. We're actually setting it against, a science-based goal. So we know where we need to get to over the next 30 years, but also the near-term targets. So what we need to get to by 2030. So yeah, that was our journey. So calculate your baseline emissions, and the SBTi target setting tool was very useful.
Excellent. And Nadine's coming with a really interesting question. Nicola, can I pass this one over to you? Should SMEs be signing up to the SBTs as part of their sustainability strategies? Nicola?
I don't know. Simon's just made a very good case for SBTIs. It's not something we've done. We've looked at it. I mean, there's different ways to go about it. And I think I'm guessing if you sort of go, depending on how far you go down the SBTI route, I'm assuming there's tools that are free of charge. And then if you want to get them ratified, I'm assuming that's when you start to sort of incur costs. We haven't set any targets as yet. We've sort of got a baseline for the last couple of years. The platform we've been working with sort of has an approach where we sort of going through workshops with them to identify things that we realistically could do, or things that we could do at a stretch, and that's whether it's feasible from a sort of practical point of view with what we need to do as a business, or whether it's likely to be financially viable. So again, as Simon says, don't just set an arbitrary target. Like, our business is on a target to be net zero by 2030 or 2050. So we're trying to understand, okay, we might be where we want to get to, but there might be something that's actually like a realistic target to set, because it may not be that we can sort of, cover the entire roof in solar panels. It's a very big roof, by the way. In the next 2 years, that might be like 5 years out from now. So if we do that 5 years out from now, kind of where does that take us with the targets? I think, I mean, looking at anything around SBTI is useful. I suppose it depends on kind of what resource you've got. And I think there's other sort of various SME resources out there. I think SBTI is sort of seen as the gold standard in terms of setting your targets. But I think it's having something that's realistic, that you can achieve, and not just going out there with a statement to say, look at us, we're on track to be net zero, when you may not actually be.
Well done, Nicola. I'm so enjoying having you on, and having you all on. Martin, Jolie, what's your view? What advice can we give to businesses that are just beginning their journey towards net zero, especially in terms of setting realistic goals and timelines? Jolie, you go first.
I'll bring in something that Martin and I learned on a course that we went on around the 4 steps about a credible net zero claim. So it's around pledging your target, planning, and then proceeding and publishing, and so keeping your progress up to date and being transparent on progress. So it's the 4 Ps of a credible net zero claim.
Excellent. Martin, anything to add to that?
No, but I would go back to something Nicola said early on, and I think this is probably quite an old saying, but probably quite relevant. What gets measured gets managed, and once they've measured their electricity and realised what was going on there in the baseline work they were doing for emissions, they said, well, why do we use so much electricity? What can we do to reduce it, save money, and save on emissions? So I think that's a really good way to look at it. Is if we measure it, we'll manage it, and then you'll start to make a difference.
Excellent. Martin, thank you. Sean, we're going to start to wrap up now. Sean, what's your message to everyone that's dialed in as to how we can create success along this journey of net zero. Sean.
Well, I mean, I think as everybody else has already said, I mean, it's really just a case of getting started, right?
Yeah, well done.
You know, I mean, there's not really any excuse not to get started on some of these things. As others have mentioned, you know, I mean, it can seem a little bit overwhelming when you first start, because particularly when people start talking about your scope 3 emissions and all of these sort of things, that can look a little bit overwhelming. But I think, you know, for us, it was, you know, we focused on scope 1 and scope 2. Initially, we in our first year, we did try and measure some of our scope 3, but only those where we really had the data that we could actually use. You can always add complexity to your scope 3 measurements later on, but if you until you get started, you're just not going to know where you are. And then, you know, it's then a case of really sitting down, looking at what you've measured, and then working out where it makes sense to focus your resources to have the biggest impact. You know, so for us as a business, you know, electricity and the electricity that we used was a big area. Our biggest area was diesel fuel for the fleet of vehicles that we have doing deliveries. And then our third area that was quite big, which was quite surprising for us, was when you actually start looking at commuting of staff and staff coming in and into work and the method that they use. And so again, you know, we're starting some projects with the university, as I mentioned, where we want to start looking now at, you know, where do we focus to get the you know, the biggest impact. Other areas, you know, that we looked at, I mean, paper usage in our business was 1% of our overall carbon footprint. So even if we halved up, and I'm not saying we shouldn't try and half our paper usage, but even if we did half it, it's not going to have a significant impact on our carbon footprint.
Yeah. It's got some really interesting things, team. If you have the likes of George, I don't think we can answer your question directly, but George has just stated, question on funding support available. We're now raising 3 million for our net zero farm and fuel plan to match our Innovate UK project. Innovate UK, brilliant. My question is, what support is available to match with suitable investors? I'm no expert, but when it comes to investment raising, it is a big time sink. Guy, question for you: have you enjoyed this aspect of your business, or have you found it a hindrance to you?
No, it's been great because it's a way of. Can you hear me? It's you can judge yourself against it, but also you're growing and developing and having an impact. Just quickly, Max, you talked about support, and I touched on B Corp earlier on. There is a fantastic group. All of us that are B Corps in Northamptonshire are part of a group of Northampton, which we term ourselves Northants B Corps. And there's everything from, just to show the range, gin manufacturers with Warners through to a funeral directors in Kettering, right? And there's various sectors as well as various sizes. People with B Corp, we've got a company with about 2 people, up to Alpro, the milk people, who are obviously a multinational company. There is an event on the 12th of March for anybody interested in B Corps to meet other B Corps, even if they're not going to go through with it. It's being hosted at the university. To talk to any of these companies in Northamptonshire that already have B Corp, to talk about what it's all about and how it can help. Because one thing that we've heard is that the net zero journey, the B Corp journey, whichever way you're approaching it, can be quite overwhelming to start with. So there's an event on the 12th of March at the university so people can meet other people who've been through it and how it might help their business maybe get on this journey.
Yeah, well done. And Guy, I didn't expect anything else, but I'm so pleased that you enjoy this aspect of your business. Oh, yeah. Because I think if people enjoy let's call it the positive problem solving, and they can create good for the business and the environment on the back of that, so we all win. Ebenezer, what have you learned today? Ebenezer, what have you learned from our jobbing experts that perhaps you didn't know before? Ebenezer.
I think it's been a fantastic webinar, and I think a lot of the things that have been said, well, all the things that have been said are very relevant. I think what struck me was the extent to which everything that has been said, you know, can be delivered under the TANZ umbrella, and how, you know, TANZ, the TANZ project, you know, can support businesses, you know, to achieve and to progress in all of the ways that has been described by by the panelists. And so we're obviously on the project looking forward to our next upcoming webinars, the next set of activities in the TANZ project. We've got 2 very exciting webinars coming up within this first quarter of the year. So the next one coming up is on the 14th of February, which is Valentine's Day, and we're going to show our love for the planet by doing a waste management webinar. And we're going to talk about how waste minimization can really accelerate the journey towards net zero. So it's not just about managing the waste, but how do we look at reducing waste and minimizing the amount of waste that we're generating? How does that link to a reduction in carbon emissions? And then in March, in late March, I think it's the 26th of March, we're having a huge webinar to demonstrate the operability of the carbon calculator that we're developing as part of this project, working with the likes of Simon, who's on the call today. We're going to do a demonstration webinar to show everyone how the calculator works and load information on how you can get it, how you can sort of download it, etc., etc. So yeah, looking forward to it, and I'd like to thank everyone for joining in, and I'd like to thank our panel as well for making themselves available for this.
Ebenezer, well done. You went a bit Dalek-y on us, but I think we got the majority of that. If you didn't, you know that Ebenezer and his colleagues at the university are so prolific, positively prolific, and informing us, keeping us up to date on all those events. So watch your inbox for the next events that are coming up. And everyone, just to wrap up, have you enjoyed this aspect of your role, net zero sustainability? And are you positive about where this is taking you individually and also the business that you're associated with? Simon, you go first.
Yes, apologies, Max. I was just putting in the chat. I've got to jump on another call at the moment, but
quick.
Yeah, very quickly. Yeah, no, really, for me personally, and for Blue Skies, we really enjoy being part of this journey. I think because it's at the heart of what we what we're setting out to do. It's about what impact that we want to have on the world. So it's core to why we believe we exist. But this whole journey around net zero, I think, sort of focuses on sort of specific things that we can be doing. It helps us to understand. We talked about if you can measure it, you can manage it, and I think by doing that, it's for us really helped us to understand where the exciting innovation and long-term big opportunities might be, but as we also discussed on this call, where, excuse the pun, the low-hanging fruit is. Because there's simple things that we can do, and the simple things that we have done, which have had a great impact, and we didn't realize that we could do that before we'd actually gone to the effort of measuring it. So it's been hugely rewarding, very satisfying, and great to see the impacts we're already having. Simon,
well done. Go to your next call. Nicola, have you enjoyed this aspect, and are you looking forward to the success that it's going to create for you and your organisation, please?
Yeah, I mean, I think sometimes it can seem sort of depressing when you sort of see all of the news with the climate change stories, but I think from a personal perspective, I've learned a huge amount in the last couple of years since I've been here. It's been really interesting. I think Sartre has made some great progress from, and I think also it's great to see the footwear industries sort of, it's going to take some time to trickle down to all footwear, but there's definitely some progress being made. We've got the first claim on a net zero shoe. We've got compostable shoes. We've got footwear recycling that's really gaining some traction. So I think there's some positive news out there. Yeah, definitely.
Excellent. Thank you. Martin, your views?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I think most people join local government because they'd like to make a difference in the local area. And I hope that's what we do with the work we do with the TANZ project and other events we attend. I think, yeah, it's enjoyable, and I hope we're making a difference.
And you are, sir. Sean?
Yeah. No, I really enjoy being involved in this area of the business, and I think we're as a company, we're looking forward to working with Ebenezer and his colleagues at the university in the next phases of our journey in terms of reducing our carbon footprint.
Well done, and we look forward to you being the lead sponsor at the summit later this year. Jolie?
Yeah, I definitely enjoy it. It's you know, sustainability is something personally that I'm very interested in, and I think it gives you a lot of fulfillment to see that you're making a difference. So yeah.
Excellent. Well done. And Guy, wrap up for us.
Yeah, I mean, for us, it's a bit, obviously for Bambino Mio, it's the centre of what we do in terms of our contribution to the planet. And I think I always believe that you know, you can put all the governments, all the NGOs, all the charities in a room trying to deal with these problems, but at the end of the day, it's only business that's going to sort it out, because businesses are the ones that are going to provide the solution.
Boom. Well done, everyone. We've far run out of time. Great broadcast. You'll be able to see the recording. Look out for the further communications from Ebenezer at the team and the team from the university. Thank you for being on this broadcast today. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Goodbye.